2.1 million. 2.1 million. 2.4 million. That's crazy. Yo guys, what is up? Max on our first Descendant video, and today is the day. Today is the balance changes. The devs have been, hinting that they were working on this for a long time. And it is a full Descendant rebalance. They said previously to this that they wanted to bring up any of the Descendants that were below like Haley, Viessa, Valby tier, and then bring down the Descendants that were like Freyna, Ines tier. And so we're going to be breaking down all of the notes. I'm going to be like reading these for the first time with y'all. So I'm very excited to see what they did. Let's get right into it. All right, so we're starting with Lepic. I'm imagining we're getting mainly male buffs, to be honest with you. Grenade throws, MP cost was reduced. Don't really care about that. Its damage was about doubled. Damn, okay. Overclock's MP cost reduced. Don't really care about that. Cooldown adjustment. It goes to 70 seconds at all levels. So it is lower cooldown for overkill. Not going to make the biggest difference. Increased efficiency now gives you 60% fire rate and 741% damage. Damn. Okay. That seems kind of insane. We got Jayber buffs. Let's see if Jayber's gonna get played. Jayber's HP from his assault turret was increased. So I believe this is the HP and stuff that the turrets get from you. So it's gonna be getting all of your skill power, all of your shield, all of your HP and MP rather than a part of it. And then reactivates damage was doubled. We'll see if that actually does that much. Immediate purge code also got almost quadrupled in damage. For his explosive damage and electric AoE. That is actually very interesting. Okay, all right. Good Jayber buffs. Once again, we'll see how everything plays out once we actually get to playing it. Here we get Blair. Now, I was guessing that they were going to buff Blair because his ultimate is around the corner, and he needed some loving. I still think Blair is going to get the most amount of buffs, hopefully, from his new Transcendent modules. But at base, they buffed up his burn damage by double. His blaze up flame damage zones basically got doubled. Extinguish now gives you movement speed. That's really great. Burn taste got a ton of extra damage. And Deadly Cuisine Fireball. Oh, wow. Deadly Cuisine might be able to do some real damage now. I mean, it was good before, but in terms of skill damage on Descendants, it was way behind Viessa or any of the other main skill damage dealers. So that actually looks pretty good. It's going from small fireballs dealing 600 damage to 2,400, and the giant fireball going from 407 to 16. That seems pretty crazy. Incendiary Bomb, Flame Zone damage is going up. Truly Deadly Cuisine is going from 6,000 skill modifier to 1,200. Or sorry, 12,000. That is also going to possibly hit like a truck, especially if you can get it to crit. That is a ton of skill damage. Backdraft, Blaze Up, the zone damage increase. Classic Chef. Classic Chef is this mod that I like using on him. Also Flame Zone damage increase, gotcha. And Deadly Cuisine, still fireball damage. So Blair basically is just going to be dealing more damage with everything. And also he's going to get some movement speed, which is pretty nice. Luna, they just buffed up all of her damage. They're doing big. These are not small minor adjustments. These are they're basically doubling the damage of most Descendant skills, which is kind of crazy. We got Esimo buffs. Explosive damage from Habit is going up. Time Bomb is going to a longer cooldown, but much more damage and bigger radius. Blast damage increase per bomb is going from 35% to 90%. But the skill power increase is going only to 4 times. So you have to place less bombs, basically, which is kind of a quality of life change. Guided Landmine is going to deal a bunch more damage. Noted. Arcade Explosion, defense decrease from 30% to 10%, so you're not going to lose as much defense. And it is going from 7,000 to 400 to 15,000 damage. God damn. You can spam this, so that's pretty interesting. Cluster bomb, the damage increase per bomb is going up. The explosive damage is going up. The burn damage is going up. Explosive propaganda, damage up. Creative explosion. These are basically the same things. Creative explosion, damage increase from 4,000 to 5,500. Damage per bomb going from 4.4% to 25%. Very interesting. Esimo is one of those Descendants that was like actually pretty good, and then kind of just got power crept, and the fact that the bosses spawned faster was really hurting his boss damage, because now the bosses basically, you don't get to land as many bombs on them before they start attacking you. So now basically you don't need to plant as many bombs, because now you're only getting the skill power increase up to 4 times, and you're going to be getting a larger damage increase per bomb, and that explosive damage is going to be dealing more. So it's a quality of life buff to Esimo, but also should be dealing more damage. Enzo's explosive drone is getting a bunch more damage. I think explosive drone needs more AoE, to be honest. I think it needs to be able to scale to larger area to work. Let's see what else they did. Reinforcement front line. Firearm attack increases your max HP times a fraction of your HP, all the way to 0.001%. Interesting. Concentrated fire explosive drones cooldown goes from 4 seconds to 0.5, so you're going to be able to spam this way easier. And it got a bunch more explosive damage. That actually looks pretty fun. I still wish they would buff the AoE on the explosive drone, because I'd like to use it as a mobbing skill, but the fact that this is now going to be incredibly spammable and also hit for a ton of skill damage is pretty interesting. Here we get the Ines nerfs. So Chain Lightning's cooldown is increasing. Its base damage is getting decreased. The additional damage is also going down. Lightning Conductor is getting more cooldown, lower MP cost, more damage. Additional damage to enemies inflicted is going up, and the number of targets it can hit is going up. So it sounds like they're trying to shift around some of the damage on her kit, so it's not just you spamming her 1 or not just spamming her 4. Speaking of the 4, Snare Hunter's cooldown is going up from 30 seconds to 90 seconds. Its projectile damage is going down. Its continuous damage is going down. Its coil damage is going down. Its damage intervals are increasing. And its damage to enemies inflicted with Conductor is also going down. That's pretty nuts. Man, that's a huge nerf. That's a huge nerf. So, basically, you're going to be spamming this less, and it's going to be dealing less damage. Note, and then Time of the Hunting Hounds, we don't really care that much about this. We're mainly just using Time of the Hunting Hounds specifically to convert all of her skills to under 1 single modifier value, but they basically increased all the cooldowns. Interesting. One other additional Ines change that they did, by the way, they mentioned it down here, but they fixed Ines's Chain Lightning and Floating Lightning so that it cannot attack targets that are blocked by terrain. So you can no longer like hide behind a wall and like spam your 1 on a boss, which, you know, shouldn't have been how that worked in the first place, to be honest. But pretty crazy changes. We're going to go through all of them, by the way, and then we'll like talk about my opinions on them. Next up, we got Keelan. Oh, Keelan buffs. Keelan was actually like, I thought Keelan had like a pretty cool kit, but he was just lacking some damage, and it looks like they're basically buffing all of his damage. So Keelan might actually be in a crazy spot. Keelan's explosive damage is going up. Additional damage is going up. Acidic Decay is going up. Onslaught's going up. More damage. Septic Gust is going up. They like tripled the damage on that. Blood Rot's getting like 3 times damage. Tremor's getting like 3 times damage. Focus on Prey damage is going up. Additional damage is going up. Everything about Keelan's damage is looking way higher. And I think that's honestly, for me, that was the main thing that Keelan was missing to keep up. It's like, you have a dash ability that, you know, can fly you around, and if that dash would one-shot things, then you could keep up with your like bunnies and stuff. But if you weren't one-shotting, then you had to like keep dashing back and forth, and that would really slow you down. And so if Keelan can efficiently clear now with these damage increases, he could be kind of disgusting. That's actually probably the buff that I'm most excited to test. Next up, we got Ajax. Firearm explosive attack increased by 20, 40, and 60% at each enhancement level. Damn. Oh my goodness. Void Walk. Base damage from 578 modifier to 2,000. Okay, the Jumping Jacks is back. Expulsion is going from 1,290 to 2,480 with 4,000 damage at enhanced levels. And for Void Explosion, damage increase, damage increase, damage increase, damage increase, Void Charge, huge damage increases, bigger stuns, more damage increases. Matrix is gonna get more base damage, body enhancement, more base damage, MP cost is lowered, expulsions more damage. Life Barrier max reflection damage is going from 100 to 200. Enhanced goes from 1,100 or 117 to 300%. I don't think that's going to do all that much, to be honest. But mobbing damage Ajax or jumping Jacks should definitely be looking really good. That is awesome. I cannot wait to try Ajax as well. Kyle's base damage got basically doubled on his repulsion dash. His magnetism spurt got massive damage. Holy, 707 modifier to 3,000 modifier. His superconductivity thrusters is going from 26k to 40k damage. Magnetic force additional damage is also massive. That should be really good for like killing colossuses with him. Did they give him more cooldown by any chance? More base damage, more range, more base damage, more base damage. So it doesn't look like they touched any of his cooldowns, which is a bit unfortunate, but he should be hitting way harder. They buffed Bunny. Thrill Bomb damage increased from 156 to 683. Cool. No one really ever clicked that skill, so that's cool. Maximum power, base damage from 502.9 to 1,100. Holy shit, they buffed Electrical Condense. Wow. She didn't need that, I'm going to be honest with you. Electrical Condense was already on a really low cooldown, and it was already doing a ton of damage. Bunny would still lose out to Ines for like single target, but it was pretty strong. That's a crazy buff. From 1,946 base damage to 4,715 base damage. Bunny... Damn, Bunny could be back to being our fastest speedrunner. We shall say Superconductor, Thrill Bomb, base damage, Electrical Charge, more damage on your jump. Don't really care. They buffed High Voltage? Oh, they didn't buff High Voltage. They just buffed the Thrill Bomb on High Voltage, which is what it was already doing. It's just going to be like a little bit more damage. So I don't think you're using High Voltage Bunny. I think Electrical Condense Bunny is going to be the move. And then we get a Glay change. Lifesteal generation condition has changed when Glay defeats an enemy to when Glay or an ally defeats an enemy. That's cool. Added a limit of 10 to the number of life spears that can be generated. Interesting. Explosive life base damage is going up, and her damage during frenzy is also going up. Okay, so they buffed like they buffed basically like skill mobbing Glay, which is actually pretty good. Explosive life was fun, but it needed a little bit of quality of life, and especially if you were playing with teammates, it was really hard to generate those spheres if they were killing things. So now you can generate those spheres, and actually like this should feel a whole lot better to play. Because it's a whole lot more damage, and you can play with teammates and have them generate life spheres for you, which was kind of the issue with explosive life. Is like it was kind of awkward that you'd have to like shoot your gun when you walk into a room to generate those life spheres, and they're not 100% chance to generate. So you'd be shooting at things, waiting for something to make a life sphere, and then you could start your like big explosive chains. So that should feel a whole lot better. Content improvements for Descendants fixed. We already talked about this one. They are chain lightning and floating are removed if they hit terrain. Fixed an issue where the tooltip for Bunny's electrical condensed skill module did not reflect the skill power modifier increases in damage. Noted. They did some UI changes. Added the walk option. Let's see. Greetings, Descendants. This is the director. The balance between Descendants has been an important topic of discussion in the community recently. Successive releases of new overpowered Descendants, such as Ines and Serena, have caused some content being cleared way more easily than intended. We're taking this trend seriously, and this rebalance is our first step towards addressing the problem. This rebalance is This rebalance focused on strengthening relatively underperforming Descendants, using as a basis the performance of Yessa, Valby, and Haley, who are the current baseline. However, we recognize for that some Descendants, simply tweaking some numbers are not enough to bring out the best in them. We believe that the mechanics of certain skills may need to be reworked to achieve more meaningful performance improvements, but we had to adjust multiple Descendants simultaneously, and we apologize for focusing on numerical balance this time. We understand that you may find some changes inadequate because of that, but we'll continue to review and implement improvements to skill structure and design. Totally agree with that. A lot of numerical buffs are great, but some skills just still feel awkward to play, such as like Blair's Flamethrower. We don't believe we can balance all the Descendants perfectly with a single patch. Also, good thing to note, it's their first real crack at balance in this game. So, like, obviously, things aren't going to be perfect. We'll continue to closely analyze post-patch data and make further adjustments that fall short of the baseline. We'll also fine-tune Serena's performance along the way. So this is kind of what I was figuring is it feels too soon to nerf Serena. I know a lot of people are going to be like, why would they nerf Ines and not Serena? I just don't think that they're nerfing Serena because she just came out, but they're going to be nerfing her later. We're also keenly aware that we've been releasing new Descendants in an overpowered state. While the dev team does hope for the new Descendants to be in a spotlight, we don't want them to be released overpowered to the point of breaking down the content structure. We're looking internally at the reasons for this reoccurring issue, and we're working to improve our development process so we deliver more stable and balanced content in the future. We're deeply grateful to all of our players for their continued heartfelt feedback on the first Descendant. We consider this rebalance a step towards further refining the balance, and we'll continue to make adjustments and improvements based on play data and do our best to provide a better gaming experience. Additionally, in response to community feedback, we're currently working on improving Serena's wings so that they are no longer visible when she equips a common skin. The wings will only be displayed when she uses her skills. What? I like the wings. Okay, interesting. They should just make an option to keep the wings. I personally like having the wings. That's what makes her unique and not look like all the other Descendants. All right, so tons of balance changes. So overall thoughts on this, I obviously have to play with all of the changes yet, which I have not done, and my thoughts might change once we get to mess around with these things. But I really appreciate all of the buffs to the underperforming Descendants, and like their buffs were heavy. Things are looking really cool. Some winners to me specifically, I think Keelan might be really nice to play now. Ajax is looking spicy. Essima is bossing, might be really nice. Blair's gonna be feeling a lot better. Still think his kit's a bit awkward, so hopefully his Transcendent modules change that. And then to the whole like, nerfs are bad kind of stuff. Obviously we're gonna need to play around with it, but I think this was necessary, and I think it's good that they're addressing this. My issue with leaving Ines and Serena and all of these Descendants how they are, and kind of the issue that was building up in this game, in my opinion, is the fact that, like, in order for the devs to have new Descendants come into the game that are interesting, they need to be competitive. They don't need to be better, but they need to be competitive with our current options, right? For example, Keelan launched. Keelan was not better than Freyna, his poison toxic counterpart. He wasn't as good as Bunny. There was just better options. People played him a little bit and then kind of forgot about him. Obviously, that's changing with the buffs, but basically, Keelan was just not something that people really cared for all that much because he wasn't as strong, he wasn't as meta. And in order for the devs to have people playing their game and engaging in the content, they need to make competitive Descendants. And with constant Descendants getting more and more powerful, the power creep was just going to keep going. People are like, oh, Ines didn't need a nerf, or like, why nerf Ines when Serena exists? And I think the like big thing to understand with Ines is I think Ines only exists because they refused to nerf Freyna. Freyna was ridiculously strong. She still is ridiculously strong. But when Freyna was out, then they launched Keelan. No one played Keelan. And then they see that, they need to make a competitive Descendant with Freyna, especially for mobbing, because Ines, that's what her like ability is. And then we get Ines. And if Ines is left the way that she is and deleting the entire screen of a map and flying through things, then the next time that they want to make a mobbing Descendant, they need to be competitive with Ines. And it just slowly and slowly would get crazier and crazier and leave just everyone behind. And so I think the nerfs and stuff that are happening to Ines is not so much to bring the game into balance with her, but to bring the game to balance for the future. If they want to release Descendants in the future, there needs to be a easier to obtain baseline of mobbing, and I think Ines was a little bit higher than that baseline to, like, for realistic standards. Like, if Ines is killing the entire screen in 1 second, then the next Descendants got to kill that entire screen in 0.5 seconds. It's just not a realistic place to be for the game, and so I don't think that this is as much of a balance patch to, like, current, but to get the game into a better place so that when they release new content, as they said, they can make it competitive and not broken and release it in a balanced place. And if they're releasing Descendants that have to be competitive with Ines, it just wouldn't be in a balanced state. It would be in an overpowered state, which they're trying not to do anymore. And so overall, changes look good. I'm glad that the devs have, gone and done a pass on balance in this game. I think it desperately needed it. Obviously, this is like the first half of it. I still think weapon cores are extremely overpowered, and they're part of the reason why weapons are just so much more powerful than Descendant abilities right now. But hopefully that is addressed in the future. Good changes there. I will catch y'all in the next one. Let me know what you guys think down in below in the comments, and I'll catch y'all later. Take care. Peace.